I wanted to give you some information about what a joint trust looks like. We have clients who come in from other states that aren't community property states that may be familiar with an individual trust and how that works. But I wanted to go over the benefits of a joint trust and how we do that and structure that here in Arizona. So I have a graph that I can show you. And when we do a joint trust in Arizona, there's actually 3 layers to the trust. The first layer is when both of you are alive. The second layer is when one of you are alive. And the third layer then deals with what happens to all of the assets after both you and your spouse have passed. So at this top level, it's actually the same as you owning your information and your assets just in your individual name. You have full control over your assets. But when we move down a layer, we're going to split that money typically into 2, and this is based on our client's goals. So this is just one example of how a trust can be structured. But if we want to provide for asset protection, what we will do is we will split 50% into this side. This is the survivor's trust. And 50% onto this side. This is the person's money of the person who has died. So this is their 50%. This is also in a revocable trust, just like this one. So whoever is the survivor can still make changes whenever they need to, so long as they have the mental capacity to do so. This half the money is a little bit differently though, because the person who has died can no longer make any changes to their documents. This side of the money actually flips into what we call an irrevocable trust. And there's lots of benefits to an irrevocable trust versus a revocable one. But how we would typically structure this is to say, hey, we want the survivor to be the person that manages this half of the money. And we want the surviving spouse to also be the beneficiary of this money. Of course, there's lots of different ways to structure it. This is just one example. So we can still maintain a lot of flexibility for the surviving spouse to get access to this half of the money. But because this part of the money is in an irrevocable trust, this money has asset protection. Meaning, if you as the surviving spouse get into a car accident and get sued, they're going to come after whatever they can come after in the survivor's trust. But they can't touch any of the money in this irrevocable bucket. So we're building in some asset protection. We could also build in some remarriage protections at this level if the surviving spouse gets remarried. And we could also build in some tax planning as well if any of our clients need those strategies put in as well. So lots of different things that we can do at this second layer of the trust. The third layer of the trust is what we call the descendants trust. That's just because most people typically will tend to leave it to children or grandchildren when they both die. And at this level, we can also create asset protected monies for our children or our grandchildren. So for example, if you have 2 children and you want to leave them money equally, we can create 2 buckets of money down here, equal 50% buckets. If you think that they are great handling money, they can be trustees of their own trust. And we can put in rules that say how you want them to spend it and how often and on what sorts of things. And then when they are the trustees of their own trust, same thing. They have full control. They're also the beneficiary. They get to use the money for their behalf. But if they got into a bad car accident, for example, the money in their bucket is protected from their creditors. Or maybe if they go through a really bad divorce situation later in life, also protected monies. Same thing with protected from the bankruptcy court. So with this type of trust, we can build in asset protection at these 2 buckets of money right here. We also can build in incapacity planning for either when both spouses are alive or when the survivor is alive and maybe now has Alzheimer's and can no longer manage their monies. We have these protections in place that you get to choose who you want to come in and help manage your money next. That way we don't have to go through the guardianship or conservatorship process in court. Whomever you choose now can automatically come in and act for you so that you still have incapacity planning in place as a benefit of doing a trust. So this is just a high-level overview. I just wanted to give you a little bit of information before you came into the office so you can see a structure of a trust and a few of the benefits to see if this might be one of the right planning tools for you.